What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we find ourselves up on top of this beautiful vista overlooking Los Padres National Forest, and I thought it would be a good time to do a follow-up to my last video, which was my top 5 interior modifications, or the first one was exterior modifications. So now I'm going to do a follow-up on interior mods. Which ones are my top 5. And as with the last one, I definitely want to kind of explain why they're practical, because there's a ton of things that I've got going on the inside that I won't cover in this video that are really cool. And if you got the money to spare, by all means do it. Blacked out interior kit, all that good stuff. But for this, we're going to talk about the top 5 that I think are most worth the money and why. So let's get into it. So you may have seen this in a few other videos, but I do have this little screen here, and I get questions about it all the time. I think in my first walk around of interior mods, I didn't even cover it, and it's definitely one of the most important, and this is called an ultra gauge. The ultra gauge is essentially a live time fluid engine fault code monitor that tells you everything in live time. So I find myself time and time again, almost on a daily basis, if I feel anything that's a little iffy, I find myself checking this. So let me just get in here and fire it up and I'll tell you exactly what's going on here. So ultra gauge fires right up. Right now I have, I have engine load, which is essentially the amount the engine is working out of 100%. So I want to always make sure that I'm kind of trying to keep that to a minimum if I can. You'll notice that it's running the AC right now. Perfect example. Turn the AC off, you're going to see that engine load drop significantly, just because there's a little bit more effort going into that accessory belt. I turn it back on, and you're going to see that number jump up again. Additionally, I have the engine temperature. You want to make sure that that's always staying under 200 degrees if possible. I got the intake temperature. I got the main electrical voltage there. Want to make sure your battery is always topped off. Anything below 11 volts is a good indicator that that's going to go out soon. And then I also have ambient temperature. You'll notice that ambient and intake temperature should, in theory, always about stay the same, because you want to make sure that they're the same. If the engine temperature is much higher than the ambient temperature, you know that there's a problem in the engine. And then I also have my mass airflow sensor there, which is typically right around that reading of 2.5 to 3. At any rate, yeah. So I think that that's probably my number one favorite interior modification. There's 2 different models. There's I think there's the EV version 2, which is what I have, or the MX, which is a little bit more expensive. I think both of them run under $100, either $75 or $100 respectively. And I just got my dad one for Christmas this year. I cannot tell you how much more peace of mind you're going to get from this little device. It's going to last forever. As you can see, it's a little bit antiquated, and it's kind of an antique when you put it in, right next to the technology that these trucks have. But I think for what it does, how it makes me feel, and what it can provide to you it's priceless. Not to mention, you can actually go in and change look at fault codes. If you have engine codes or anything of that nature, you can check on what they are. If the engine just needs to perform well enough to get you to the shop. You can clear that code and then take yourself in. Obviously, don't just start clearing codes just to get the engine light out of the way. That would defeat the purpose. But another really cool feature of the Ultra Gauge. I will also mention that the Ultra Gauge, although I showed you exactly what I have configured on my screen, there are, I want to say, hundreds of different bits of diagnostic information that you can input in there if that's something you prefer to look at. That might be an overstatement, but there's so many. You can look at everything from, your cat banks to your oil pressure. Anything that you can probably think of is in the menu to configure. And if it's not, you can go online and actually modify these to best suit your needs. All right, so I think here with the next few things, I'm gonna flip the camera around, do a little walk with me into the remaining things that I wanted to address in today's video on the inside. And then, yeah, we'll kind of get this wrapped up. If you're at this point in the video and you're enjoying it so far, consider getting subscribed, drop this video a like, drop a comment down below, notification bell, all that. Let's get further into the vehicle. So I think that this one kind of goes without saying, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. I stand at about 6'4", 6'5" in my boots today, and these seat jackers by Does It provide so much more lumbar support. I mean, I think historically everyone says that these seats are a little too low to the ground. This one actually comes with a MOLLE panel here that's actually integrated into it. So I got a few things, flashlight, knife, backup radio there. There's one on the other side as well, but these are awesome because for any sort of long drives, they really make a difference. Takes a little getting used to at first. I feel like you do feel a little bit more squished, but let me flip going over here to the other side. But long term, like, I feel like there's no difference anymore. So you can see this one a little bit better. They don't have anything mounted on this side, but they just take out the factory bolts for the seats, slide those guys in there, and it's just such a good bang for the buck. I think these are like 70 bucks, maybe 50. Sorry, there's a bunch of dog hair in here. But yeah, I think that's something I don't think about. I don't really, I would say, use every day, when in fact I do. So definitely something that I think, especially if you're a taller driver, you should look at. And I'm sure a lot of you have thought about it, but haven't pulled the trigger yet. So I highly recommend those. I think the next thing on here, I always try to think of things that, you, like I said, you use or you touch the most. I recently, in the last year or so, got this, what is it, Teton Workshop shift knob, and it's been a game changer. My last one was the leather was getting sticky, falling apart. My wife drives the truck sometimes and she feels it and notices it immediately and is like, I want one of these. So trying to see if we can find one for the RAV4 Teton Workshop. If you watch this, let me know if you guys have one. Otherwise I'll have to check online. But I think this is a little bit more on the pricier side. It's a single piece billet aluminum. But I think aesthetically and functionally, again, going in hand in hand with kind of usability, what do you touch the most, use the most, this is definitely one that I want to include on my list. So shift knob. Number 3 on my list, you all have seen Bucky on the channel before. He's our 3-year-old Australian Shepherd. So when this doesn't have a fridge over there or anything else like that, this is kind of his space. But what we do to give ourselves room when he's in there is I have one of these attics. It is I forget, Flatirons Overland attic. And it's great because you can just throw some sweaters in there, you can tighten it right up here. And it's awesome. The one downside to this is if you do have passengers here in the back, it does interfere and kind of get a little bit annoying. I've found that I just end up tucking it into, let's see if you can see that there, the little handle there. It's not focusing, but you can just tuck it into that and it does a lot better. But I think it's much more effective than throwing everything kind of on the floor here. Got my air compressor and hose over there, but this space is great for these things. But if I want to throw a hoodie or extra clothes, as you can see, I got a lot of dog hair everywhere. That's something that we try to keep to a minimum when at all possible. So this will probably be number 3. Things we use on the weekend, things we use on trips. Again, mounts straight up to these handles here and then to the headliner. No issues with it at all. Again, it does come with its shortcomings in terms of practicality with passengers. But since it's just me and my wife and our dog, for now, this works perfectly. Got a little Tacoma buddy coming up the road here. If you watch this, what's up, dude? For a second there, I thought our little Tacoma friend was gonna come up to this little vista here and say what's up, but he slowed down and then carried on his way. So I'm making a video here, so trying to stay on topic. So for the 5th and final thing here is going to be a place to mount your phone, iPad, communications on trail. And that's exactly what I have right here, right in front of me. It is an Expedition Essentials mount, not the TPAM. It's not powered, which I think is fine because I can just plug my phone into the USB port or the, any sort of other power outlet. In my walkie-talkies, I don't have a built-in radio yet, or I don't even know if I'm going to be honest. But I do have a little radio mount here, so you can just quickly back and forth when you're on the trail. So let me flip the camera around and tell you what I'm talking about here. So here it is. This is the Expedition Essentials RAM ball dash kit. It does mount straight into the factory radio. There are some support brackets on the inside in case something is extra heavy. But this is what I put my phone in. I've been using this for a long time, since the truck was stock. And it's super nice. These are, you can loosen them and slide them around. Sorry, the focus is a little weird here. But I think this is definitely something that I use on a daily basis, worth the money, a little bit more on the pricier side for what you get, but the functionality you get out of it is awesome. I will say that mounting your phone in here with one hand is a little tricky. So I may look into getting a other one or another RAM ball mount with like a magnet. That way I can just throw my phone on there a little bit easier. But for the sake of, let me grab one of these mics down here. For the sake of using them for communications, you can just throw a mic on there and it's super easy to talk to your friends. You just grab it up back and forth. It's one less thing you got to do to bring your eyes away from the road or the trail that I think is super helpful. I keep my maps on here typically when I am on trail, just to make sure I'm looking where I'm going. And then this, I'll slide back and forth. Usually use a little FRS Midland X-Talker instead of this. This is our backup Baofeng UV5R, but just wanted to use that for an example. So yeah, that would probably be, again, another one of the top 5 best interior modifications that I can recommend to anyone who's looking into making their truck more practical and so on. So I think that covers the top 5 interior modifications on this truck. There's a boatload of things going on in here that I looked at, didn't even want to touch on. I got all the Miso Customs interior blackout kit that goes from the steering wheel to the climate control knobs, front and back. So those are really cool, but I think number 1 being the ultra gauge, number 2 being the seat jackers, 3 that shift knob, something you touch every single day. Seat jackers, again, you're sitting in your seat every single day when you're out driving, whether it's on the trail or just around town. the flat irons attic, number 4, super useful. We use it almost every weekend, especially in the cooler months here in California. It can go from a 46-degree morning, by the afternoon it's 75 degrees, so taking your jacket and throwing it back in there is super nice. And then again, the dash mount there for your phone. I think that's something that if anyone gets a car or a truck, that's like one of the first things that they look to get, is some place to mount their phone. So I think that's a really good solution. Do I think that there are other solutions out there that are just as good, if not better? Maybe. But a lot of the things that I've put on my truck are years old now, and proof of concept is that they're still working. And I'm a huge proponent of, I'll add things to the truck, but I won't replace them if a new product comes out just because it's cooler. I'm going to be doing a video here in the next week about the canvas style rooftop tent. That's something that everyone always tells me, hey, there's this, that, and the other, and I'm not going to shell out that much money just for another cooler, newer tent just because it's available. This thing's been awesome. So that's that. It's like the 3rd time today that I've pushed record and it's not recording, and then I end it, and then I have a little clip of me like putting my phone down. But at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informational. My top 5 things that I have done to my truck, excuse me, that I think are both worth the money and that I actually use, touch, and take advantage of the most on a day-to-day basis. Are there tons of other things, as I mentioned? Yes. Are there better things? It's possible. It's up to you what you think is going to be most worth it. But yeah, if this is your first time on the channel, consider getting subscribed. Drop a comment down below. I will for sure get back to you. Even if it has nothing to do with what we discussed today, if it's just my Tacoma related, drop something down below. I'll respond to you. You can follow me at QuickSendTaco on Instagram as well. But yeah, get subscribed, notification bell, like, comment, and I should be doing another few videos here in the next week or so. And so until next time, enjoy the ride.